So I'm Lorraine Dector here with Kathy Yanni, the Trust Administrator for the Fire Victim Trust. I'd like to see if you could just share a little bit of background about you and the Fire Victim Trust and why your leadership is significant in this effort.
Thank you very much, Lorraine, for inviting me to talk with you. I have a lot of experience in fire cases. The first group of cases I worked on was the San Diego fire cases. I was both a neutral evaluator and a mediator in those cases. I settled in excess of 1,000 of the San Diego cases. And then my next involvement in fire cases was the Wildfire Assistance Program. And Judge Montali invited me to administer. It was a limited $100 million fund right after PG&E went bankrupt in 2019 rather. And so I administered that fund. We gave out all $100 million, and about 90% of that money went to victims of the Camp Fire. Subsequent to that, of course, PG&E settled, and as part of the settlement, the Fire Victim Trust was set up in July of 2020, and Judge Montali, along with both the plaintiff lawyers or the TCC lawyers and the defense lawyers, asked me to be the administrator of the Fire Victim Trust. And of course, I accepted, and I'm happy to be working on this project. I personally think it is the most significant thing I've done in my career. And I've been a mediator, a special master for over 24 years.
Excellent. So we actually really want to get in the weeds on this because there's a lot of confusion about preliminary payments and pro rata payments. And I understand, Monday you're going to start with the first checks being issued of 30% of signed, approved claims.
Correct.
For some survivors. Correct. So one thing I want to ask first about that is you were involved in the wildfire assistance money. So some people were vulnerable and rated as that. So they got some preliminary payments. And there's a question right now, will that money be coming out of that 30% or out of these preliminary payments that some people are now getting? How does that affect these other amounts?
Okay, that's a very good question. And it's sort of three different things. The Wildfire Assistance Program money that people received will be deducted from their ultimate payment from the trust. And that is based on an order signed by Judge Montali back when he appointed me in 2019. So yes, that money will be deducted.
Is that going to be deducted from that first 30% payment?
It will be deducted at the 30% rate. So in other words, to use an easy example, if we've given somebody $100,000 and they received $10,000 in the WAP program, that $90,000, so now we're down to $90,000, right? Because the total amount would be 10 deducted from 100. Then the 30% of that $90,000 is what the preliminary payment is.
Okay, that makes it clearer.
Now but the second type of payment you mentioned was within our fire trust program, we made preliminary payments. So that's different than the wildfire assistance program. So we looked at your claim and we felt that you had a significant enough claim that we could basically give you an advance of up to $25,000. We have done that. And as of this morning, when I authorized additional preliminary payments, we've paid about $80 million worth of preliminary payments to roughly 6,000 claimants. The same math applies. So that'll be deducted from your entire claim, and then your pro rata claim will be 30% of the bottom line.
How are you doing on these pro rata offers? They are, the payments start Monday, but not just for some people. So
Right.
some people haven't received the preliminary payment or a pro rata, something to sign, a settlement offer.
Right.
So how do they know what to expect, and how can it be timely? There's no timeline that we can see roughly to see like when they're going to get a preliminary payment or not.
Well, I can certainly understand that, excuse me, people are very frustrated and it seems like it's taking too long. And as a matter of fact, I would say it is taking too long. We're trying to address that and move as quickly as we can. We have 71,000 claimants now, and we have a total of 235,000 claims. So that's a claim for real property, a claim for nuisance, a claim perhaps for wrongful death, a claim for emotional distress. We have to review for a single claimant. Most claimants have 2 or 3 claims, and we have to review each of those claims in their totality so we can make an offer to a claimant. We've agreed to do the offers, which we call determination awards, on a lump sum basis. So if you have 3 types of claims, a real property claim, a nuisance claim, and a emotional distress claim, we have to evaluate all 3 of those claims, and then we can send you a determination notice. So the process takes a while to have us go through each of the claims types. The more we do it, the quicker the process will become, and we'll be able to issue more determinations every week. So we're going to continue awarding payments I approve claims every single day, including this morning. I award preliminary payments every single day. The preliminary payments are going to continue throughout the entire program alongside of this pro rata payment. So as we review things and approve them, they'll be paid twice a month on the 15th and the 30th.
Both the preliminary payments and pro rata payments, are they on the every 2 week
Yes.
schedule? Okay. So people are wondering how many you get through in a day. How many preliminary payments roughly do you sign off on in a day, and how many claims do you figure out in a day? Because people are trying to assess how you can even do all this if you have to sign everything off, and what kind of timeline to expect.
Well, it's hard to say how many I do in a day because I look at the claims and it all depends on how complicated the claim is. If you have a single claim for emotional distress, and that's the only claim you have, I mean, I can look at that, and since I was involved in the WAP program, I personally have reviewed over 5,000 claims. So I've looked at lots and lots. I can review an emotional distress claim and approve it in a pretty short amount of time. But I do read the narratives that are very heartfelt that people have sent to me. And I also have the work that my teams have done. I have a team on each of the 8 types of the claims. And a real estate claim can be a basic real estate claim where we know what the house was worth, and if they're rebuilding it, we have a rebuilding cost. That's a relatively easy claim to approve. But if it's a claim that has a forestry component, different kinds of information on the claim, for example, what type of amenity trees did it have? Did it have a pool? Did it have a deck? I mean, even a basic real estate claim can be pretty complicated. So basically every one is different, and it's hard for me to give you,
Well, then let's not look at a day. Let's look at a week. I mean, you've gotten 6,000 preliminary payments out in a certain period of time.
Right.
And you've got 71,000 claimants.
Yep.
So how can we judge how many will be done, and so when that process will be finished?
I don't have a way of giving you a timeline on that, but I will tell you, the more I do it and the more data we accomplish, the more I'll be able to tell you. So if you and I meet again in 45 days, I will have a much better answer for you, because it is my goal to be able to say to somebody, Lorraine, if your claim is complete and it's in front of me and it's a real estate claim, I can give you a notice on that claim in 40 days. I mean, I want to be able to do that. So I promise you, as soon as I get enough under my belt that I can give you the timeline, we'll re-meet and I'll give you the timeline.
Excellent. These preliminary payments, do you have a wild guess? Like, will everybody receive one in 6 months or 3 months? Do you have an idea or a goal even?
I could say I have a goal that everyone who's eligible will receive one within 6 to 9 months. I mean, I'm going to work on them every single day the same way I'm doing now, and it's not going to interfere with the pro rata part of the program.
Excellent. So there is a question on how you decide which ones are going to get these first preliminary payments. There supposedly some pre-negotiated settlement with Tubbs fire survivors, which I do not know anything about. Are they people in the Wildfire Assistance Fund that already established that they were vulnerable and needy, or is it by maybe seniors or having small children? What is it? So the ones you're looking at on a daily basis, how do you get those in front of you? How is that determined?
Well, that is a very good question, and I can understand why people are anxious about that. The Wildfire Assistance Program is completely separate. So that has nothing to do with the Fire Victim Trust. The way claims get to me, and the preliminary payments, they get to me because somebody on the preliminary payment team has said, we've looked at these 10 requests and we think they're all good, they can all be paid. I double check to make sure that's right, and that is a relatively, obviously, easy process. And then the same with the pro rata payments. It's a combination of what is a claim that is the simplest to review. Again, one single claim: emotional distress, nuisance. A real estate claim is more complicated. A business claim is way more complicated. A wrongful death claim is obviously very complicated. So, and if you combine those different kinds of claims, it takes longer than you would expect. But we're looking at the ones that we can do quickly because we wanted to get out as many notices as possible. The lawyers and also unrepresented claimants have asked us to look at their claims. We have lists of folks who are in dire need. We obviously pull those claims and look at them. We've had people say, I'm 80 years old. Can you please look at my claim? We obviously look at those claims. So we're trying to balance a lot of factors, but I take the hardship piece of this very seriously. So when I get a request of a hardship, I immediately pull the claim. Whether we approve it or not is a different story, but I immediately look at the claim.
Okay, so as the trust administrator, maybe we could clarify some things, because some people think they only are able to get information from their attorneys who don't always have information, and different attorneys seem to be giving different information. So people want to know, is there a way to speed up getting a preliminary payment if they are in need, ill, things like that? And it sounds like there is, but is that something an attorney has to do, or is that something you can only ask the trust to do if you're representing yourself and don't have an attorney?
No, not at all. So if you're representing yourself, send the trust an email. Call the communication center. I have 50 people working for me in a communication center. They are fabulous. Let them know. They will get that information to me. They send me an email. I mean, I'll get it immediately, basically. If you're represented by a lawyer, tell your lawyer that you have a hardship case, and the lawyers are very, very good about getting that information to me. I get hardship requests every day.
Well, that is really helpful, because a lot of people didn't know they could get information if they had an attorney, that they they wouldn't be having questions answered by
Well,
calling.
they have to go through the attorney, but
They do have to. Okay.
yeah, ask the attorney. He or she'll get us the request and we will process it.
Okay, and what is the email if they do not have an attorney that they can request? What is the email address?
admin@fvttrust.com.
So are there any other scenarios that would speed up payments? I understand maybe all the information isn't always forthcoming quickly from insurance companies and maybe from FEMA to prove about certain claims. So what are the things that people could do, or what should they know about that could slow a claim or might speed up their claim?
I think that the biggest help to us, which in turn helps the claimants, is making sure that you have provided us, and if you're represented, your attorney, the documents that we're looking for. So for example, we may need a deed on a house. We may need a driver's license to prove that you have ownership, because we make sure the people who are claiming they owned a house actually owned the house, just for fraud purposes. If we need information on insurance, we have direct access to insurance information ourselves, but sometimes it's very helpful to have the claimant supply the insurance policy if they have it, or the information if they have it, and to bolster your claim if you need a medical report or medical records. You have a business claim and you have a W-2 we need, or a 1099 that we need. That all those things being in place makes us able to review and, more importantly, approve your claim.
So you're saying if people express a hardship, they might be able to be moved up for consideration of their preliminary payments. Will that affect where they are in line for a pro rata payment?
The whole thing. If you send me a hardship, I view the preliminary payment and the pro rata payment really as one. I'm looking at your claim. Mm-hmm. Do you qualify for a preliminary payment, and do you qualify for a pro rata payment? I just pull the whole claim and take a look at it. So if you send me a hardship notice, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Some people are confused about the taxes. They say that they've heard that they will get maybe a 1099 or something from the trust after payments are made each year, and that it's not going to be broken down, like maybe the preliminary payment, is that taxable, or is that even designated as to what kind of payment it is, so they're people can figure it out? Are you guys labeling these payments for what kind of payments they are?
I am not a tax lawyer. I don't have any information on the tax piece of this. It's not part of what I'm doing.
Right, but I'm saying if you're issuing a preliminary payment, does it say with that it's part of a pain and suffering thing, or part of some other aspect, so they can figure out if it's taxable or not? How do they figure it out if it's not labeled as to what that preliminary payment is? Do you see what I mean?
I'm not a tax lawyer. I would suggest that you take tax questions to your tax attorney or your CPA or whoever does your taxes. That's the way it's normally handled.
Right, but my understanding is if it's not designated as to what kind of a payment it is, it's a difference in taxes. So the trust would have to explain, in my understanding, what kind of payment it is. So if it's a lump sum payment and it's all these things, then how would people determine and split it out? Is it being split out later at the end of the 3 years? Or
the best I can do is say, talk to your lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so are you, is the judge involved in the Fire Victim Trust going to make an order that some of the attorneys lower their rates? That was posed as a possibility at some point.
I don't know anything about that. I don't get involved in attorneys.
Mm-hmm. So I have heard from several people that the Fire Victims Trust is paying some attorneys' fees. Do you have information on that?
No, I don't.
Oh, really? Boy,
I mean,
you know, some of these things, they seemed so for sure, but they were confusing. So I thought that was a given.
there's a procedure under real property claims called inverse condemnation that if because PG&E is a sort of a quasi-public entity, some of the claims can be brought under inverse condemnation. And as part of the inverse law, there is a right to attorney's fees. I think that's probably what people are thinking. It would be people who are represented. The clients can have a claim, an actual separate claim for attorney's fees, and those are being processed. We have somebody in charge of that program named Lexi Meyer, who's doing a wonderful job, and that's what she's working with.
Okay, that's very interesting. I appreciate getting that information. And I did want to mention, I know the Fire Victims Trust has a lawsuit pending for PG&E, and I just wanted to ask you what your goal is. If that is a successful lawsuit, would that go towards your administrative fees, or would it go to up the percentage of someone's claim that could actually be paid out?
Again, I'm the claims administrator, so I'm not involved in the third-party litigation, but I can tell you if the third-party litigation is successful, obviously that's money that goes to the victims.
If someone has a lien, I read something, I think in your frequently asked questions about medical liens. Are people allowed to put liens through the trust for certain things that they need to purchase, or does that have to go through your attorney?
The trust has hired a group called Wolf Garrettson. They are the gold standard in lien administration, and they have put together a program for us. And the trust, if you have a medical lien, we will, in some instances, not every instance, we will pay for that. We will get the medical lien taken care of. The Wolf Garrettson people are really the originators of lien administration. I've known them the entire 20 years I've done this kind of work, and I asked them to help us with the lien resolution part of our case. So they directly negotiate with Medicare and Medicaid, and they come up with very, very reduced percentages and flat rates on a lot of the various liens. So we have that program in place, and they just do an outstanding job. And that's available to both the clients who do not have lawyers as well as the clients who have lawyers.
Okay, I just have a few more questions then. I'm wondering, people wanted to know how many determination offers have been made so far and maybe approved. You know, how many are going to go out on Monday? What numbers can you give us about the pro-rata claims?
So I'm not sure, but we're working very hard. And I want people to understand that this is a continuing program. So they may have, we're trying obviously to get every single approved claim on the list, and we're continuing to update the list. But 2 weeks from now, there will be a whole new set of claims approved. And again, the more we do this, the quicker the approval rate will be.
So the preliminary payments so far at 80 million, the pro rata payments on Monday, do you have some kind of estimate, at least a minimum of how much you're sending out on Monday?
The minimum is probably in the arena of $50 million. And what you have to keep in mind there is, remember, it's 30%. So, the whole is bigger than that. This is the 30% that we're paying. And it may be more than that by the time we actually issue the payments.
Yes, I would like to keep in touch with you about these numbers on a continuous basis and help report that out to people. I also would like to know, you probably have some things that you would like to share with survivors. What would you like to share?
I want people to understand that this is a very special assignment for me to help everybody. I've spent time in these communities. The people who lived in Paradise and in all these areas, they're just wonderful, and they've had a terrible, terrible time. And I recognize that. And it's my promise to people to do the absolute best I can to make sure everyone gets fairly paid. I take it very seriously, and there's just no way we can make up everything that everyone has lost, but we sure would like to try really hard.
Excellent. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I just want to make a disclaimer that I am a fire survivor in my family from the Camp Fire. Make sure people understand that. I think it puts me in a unique position to understand like how deep to go and how much information is needed, and it's appreciated because there has been a lot of confusion. So thank you for going on the record and sorting some of this out.